Thalamic reflexes are complex reflexes that occur prior to cognitive processing. When there is a hazard impulse at the level of the thalamus, there is a reflex which is set off, which allows the initiation of a protective response. This is followed by cortical rationalization. The thalamus is a great sensory integrator. Vision, hearing, and touch sensations are relayed through the thalamus. They are sent to the cortex, where identification and evaluation of the sensory input is possible. However, danger signals like pain and temperature are perceived at the level of the thalamus. How do we normally respond to a hazard sequence? The information reaches the cortex. The cortex processes the information and decides on an appropriate response. However, in a hazard situation, the luxury of cortical rationalization or cortical evaluation of a threat may be detrimental. So, at the level of the thalamus, a certain sequence of movements or protective maneuvers is initiated. This is possible because the thalamus has pre-recorded templates which suggest imminent threat. When these templates are triggered by an appropriate stimulus, a thalamic reflex is initiated. Meanwhile, the impulse moves on to the cortex, where evaluation of the threat is done. After threat evaluation, there are two possibilities. Either the escape maneuver continues, or the escape maneuver is aborted because the cortex has realized that the hazard is not significant. Let us see a few examples of thalamic reflexes. A deer walking in the forest hears a rustle in the bushes. He jumps in the air and flees to the open fields to get away from what he thinks is a predator. Meanwhile, the impulse is processed by the cortex. The cortex analyzes the threat and realizes that it was just a gust of breeze and not a predator. The deer stops and starts walking. These kind of reflexes are present in humans also. Some of them are inherent reflexes, untrained reflexes. An object hurtling towards your head causes you to duck. Some of the reflexes can be trained. A soldier who is well trained sees a glint in the distance, which could be reflection from the barrel of a rifle, and it dives for cover. Meanwhile, cortical evaluation tells him that it was innocuous. There was no real threat. Or cortical evaluation tells him, yes, there is a sniper behind the sand dune, and he fires. Trained reflexes are there in soldiers, they're there in sportsmen. A footballer who senses the football coming towards him initiates a maneuver by which he can score a goal even before he really rationally thinks out the maneuvers to be performed. A boxer might counterattack when there is a punch swung at his head. A pilot, when he sees the plume of a missile, starts an evasive maneuver. Thalamic responses, the thalamic reflexes, are often associated with intense amygdala inputs, which could be of fear or of rage. Post-traumatic stress responses include inappropriate thalamic-mediated reflexes. A soldier who has been exposed to hostile fire and seen its consequences may dive for cover after he returns to New York when he hears a car backfire. He also exhibits a severe fear and anger response. This kind of a fear response in a thalamic response reflex is sometimes difficult to eradicate.